The drive from Chiang Mai to Pai is one of those journeys that's equal parts beautiful and terrifying. The road winds through the mountains like a snake. Sharp corners, steep drops, and big trucks that make you hold your breath as they come past. You're gripping the wheel with both hands while looking over the edge so close to the side of the car, and every few minutes you just think, this is mad, but it's incredible. As the hills opened up and clouds floated in front of us, I found myself feeling genuinely grateful that my work allows me to visit charities in places like this, remote, quiet, and far from the spotlight, to see the kind of grassroots impact that rarely makes the headlines. This trip was to visit Conserve Natural Forests, or CNF, a small but mighty non-profit based just outside of Pai in northern Thailand. Their mission is to restore the forest that once blanketed the region, protect biodiversity, and support local communities who depend on it. When we arrived, we were greeted by our guide called Joan, who immediately made us laugh. She asked if we wanted ice, and I assumed she meant maybe for our water bottles because obviously it was very hot and humid. But then she smiled, held up a bag of gin and tonics and said, "No, ice." And that was the moment I knew this was going to be a very fun tour. Thailand has this way of mixing warmth, humour and hospitality that just puts you at ease. Even before we started the tour, we were laughing, and that light-hearted energy just carried through the whole day. Joan explained that CNF plants around 1 million trees a year, which is an insane number when you think about it. They focus on restoring native forest, using over 50 different tree species that each play their part. Some stabilise the soil, some attract wildlife, and others provide shade to help young trees grow. We followed her along this narrow bamboo walkway that wound through the nursery. She was pointing out all the different species as we went, which ones brought in the birds, which ones helped the soil, which ones were particularly rare. The place was full of life. It did actually quite remind me a bit of the forest back home in the UK, just with a few more snakes and a lot more spiders. But what I didn't realise at the time is that Thai people are generally a lot lighter than myself and my videographer, and these walkways made from bamboo were not perhaps used to our body weight. So as we were stepping onto the bamboo pathway, my videographer stepped onto one of the slats, and the next thing we knew, he disappeared through the floor. It was incredibly funny, I have to admit. We all froze for a second, but then we burst out laughing. Even Joan couldn't stop giggling. Fortunately, Mitch was fine, but the bamboo, maybe not so much. We did pay to repair it. But then we met an amazing elephant called Cami, huge, calm, and clearly loved by everyone there. Seeing an elephant up close like that never really gets old. And around the land, they also have goats roaming around, grazing and helping to keep the grass down. And dotted between the trees are these beautiful little shrines to Buddha. Tiny, colourful houses that serve as a kind of spiritual protection for the land. It's a lovely touch and says a lot about how conservation here is as much cultural as it is ecological. Of course though, it's not all calm and easy. From January to May, Thailand enters what's called the burning season. Farmers burn their fields, and those fires can spread quickly, destroying everything in their path. CNF's work is a constant race against time, planting, nurturing, and protecting saplings before the fires return. They're also trying to increase the amount of primary forest, the untouched, old growth kind that's so vital for biodiversity and climate stability. Funding is always a challenge. Like most charities, they rely heavily on donations. It costs around €1 to plant a tree, which covers the seed, the soil, and the care. When you think about the impact of a single tree, the carbon it absorbs, the wildlife it shelters, the soil it holds together, it's honestly a fantastic investment. One of their most successful collaborations has been with Grab Thailand, the ride-hailing company, similar to Uber or Uber Eats in the West. Together they've planted over 200,000 trees, proof that when charities and companies come together with shared values, they can create something pretty special. CNF also runs internships for students and young people who want hands-on experience in conservation and reforestation. You can tell they take pride in educating the next generation, people who might one day go on to start their own environmental projects. Since COVID, and because of the unpredictable weather, CNF doesn't get many visitors anymore, which was a real shame to hear. The tours have slowed down, and the volunteer programs aren't what they quite used to be. But the team keeps going. No fanfare, no big headlines, just steady, consistent effort. And it's that kind of resilience, it's something that I've seen in so many charities, and it's honestly inspiring. It made me think about the charities back in the UK. the ones working through funding cuts, compliance headaches, and constant pressure to prove their impact. The setting might be different, but the challenges are very similar. Limited resources, unpredictable income, and a constant need to stretch every pound further. But what it really made me think about though, is that impact doesn't always make noise. Sometimes it is quiet. Sometimes it's a small team doing what they can, day in, day out, in a corner of the world most people will never visit. And that's okay, because change, real lasting change, often starts that way. If you're a charity leader watching this, take that as encouragement. The work you're doing matters, even if it doesn't always feel like it or get recognition. And if you want to support CNF directly, it's as simple as planting a tree. €1, one small action, multiply that by 1,000,000 and you start to see what's possible. Even in a quiet, remote places, people are doing work that changes lives and even saves the planet. A huge thank you to Joan, the CNF team, and everyone who welcomed us so warmly. I left feeling grounded, reflective, and honestly inspired by everything that they're doing there. I'm Carl Wakeford from Charity Accounting Partners. Thank you so much for watching, and as always, keep striding.